Okay. Let's
Here we go.
watch
Here we
it.
go. Here we go now. That's how we.
Yeah. What I heard. All
Cling.
right. I look like we're live.
I look like we're live too.
Right. Well, yeah, so as always, I'm going to mute my notifications on my phone.
Oh
so
my
that it
god, my
doesn't go
connection
ding,
looks
ding.
like trash.
Trash.
Oh well.
Almost there.
I guess thanks Comcast for the wonderful looking connection there, bud.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, I look like absolute dog shit.
All right, GP, whenever you're ready, I will then kick off the intro, and then I will give you the gesture.
Okay, I'm pulling this up as well. That way we can talk to chat if people are there and want to ask Chard some questions as well.
If you want.
Okay, wonderful. Also, Cthusiast, welcome in. Good to see you. Okay, should we start?
Yeah.
We're live?
Mm-hmm. You're
No,
live.
I don't believe you.
We're live. I'm looking at it.
Same. Okay, here we go.
Don't talk over the intro.
I'll be whatever I want to do.
Wow.
All right.
My parents said I could be whatever I wanted to be, so I became a shark.
I love it. Okay. I had to okay, hold on. Nobody's watching it except for Cthusiast, who we love.
Hi,
Give me 2 seconds. I have a good intro for this. If you love the power bottom, you'll dig the hell out of this top 5. Today on
Yet. That's gonna be unfortunate. That's going through the wrong output. And I'm just gonna talk right over chat. So or I'm gonna talk right over the intro. Go.
Don't talk over the intro.
To not do. You're like, under no circumstances, GP, should you talk over the intro.
Yeah,
and let's not use profanity for a while.
And immediately fires off a shit.
Because I was going to talk over the intro. You're not.
Jake is gone for one show, and this is what happens.
Yeah, man.
I'm kidding. Everybody, hello. Welcome back to our podcast, Press B to Cancel. My name is Guy Prime. I am joined today by my good friends, Sinistar. Sinistar, how you doing?
I'm doing swell. How about you?
I'm nervous because we've had some technology issues with my mic, so I'm nervous, but I'm hopeful.
I just had some technology issues with the intro, so we're all Chard. It's your turn in a minute. Anyway,
no, it's all right. My video looks like absolute trash. So
quit saying that. You look smoking hot as a shark.
Yeah, baby.
So Chardmonk joining us today, and you're the focus of today's episode. So why don't you say hi to everybody and show them some love, Shark Monk.
Hi to everybody. I show you, we bring you love.
Chard Shark, the card shark.
It's Chardmonk. It's Sharkmonk.
Well, yes, but I wanted to say Chard Shark because it sounds like card shark.
We have been talking a lot about card games lately. No, Jake, I am not going to play Marvel Snap. Get off my fin.
Let's not dox anybody. Sick Jake, it's great to see you. Welcome in, everybody. Jared, what's going on? No, we're here. This is basically like one of the most, I don't want to say fan, that sounds so bad, but like viewer requested things is we need top 5 episodes for Chardmonk and then also for Sinistar. Today is just going to be Sharkmonk because, what, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I had shit on my...
Pointed things. That scares the hell out of me. My mic is cut out twice today, guys.
I'm going to tell you, if I don't hear you, I'm going to do this.
So now I have to watch your video? How am I supposed to do that? I'm looking at me all the time.
And I'm going to do this. I'm going to be like...
Okay, that I can pick up on. That's good.
Maybe we can do this? No, that's a different signal.
That's already used in the vernacular. So anyway, today we're going to be discussing Chardmonk's top 5. This will be it's a continuation of a previous series where we had all discussed individually our top 5 and bottom 5 most and least favorite games of all time. Today we're going to work with Chard, but just the top 5, and then eventually we will also do Sinistar's top 5 in another episode, and then they will each get sequel episodes regarding their power bottom. So let's go ahead and start off.
Power bottom in the business.
So many jokes I can't say. So before we get started with your number 5 pick, your bottom of the top, as it were, I got to ask, when did you start gaming, and what was the first game that made a major impression on you as a human being, not as a gamer, as a person?
You're gonna like this. You'll like
Sure.
this. I started gaming probably 6, 7-ish, maybe, when motor function was more solidified at a young child's age, I guess. I don't know. My parents bought us a Nintendo in '87, Sinistar, if I remember right. Is that when it came out? '87, I believe it was. Yeah, it was '87. So we got one when they first were released. And I have 2 older sisters, so, they were playing it too, and then I was playing it, but I'm 11 years and 5 years apart from my 2 older sisters. So there's a pretty big age gap between, when we were playing all that stuff. So I kind of vicariously hung out with them and played it. We played my 3 games that I remember specifically. Obviously, Sinistar's favorite game, Super Mario Brothers. Um, uh, California Games? No, which one's
Mm,
Power Pad? Olympic Games. Which one's the Power Pad?
Yeah.
Was it Olympic Games?
Or
We did Olympic Games?
stadium games was
It
also on
was
there.
we just Olympic because I remember the
Okay.
long jump we'd run on the pad real hard,
Mhm.
and then when you jump off the pad, and then the guy like flies like
Mhm.
400 feet, and then you jump back on the pad, and you get the highest points. And Zelda, Legend of Zelda was that, but I mean, those games obviously made an impact because it was the first like real video games we played back in the day. I'm sure I played like the Atari. I distinctly remember playing like Pitfall and Pong, of course, because
Mhm.
it was on there. But not enough to be like, those were my first. Like I could claim they are my first, but I was probably just messing around with stuff. The real system that was like my first was the NES. But the first game to make an impact on me as a human person in the world.
Mhm.
Are you ready for this, GP?
I'm sitting.
It's Final Fantasy IV.
What?
Yep.
I love that answer.
I knew you would. That was one of the first games where I was like, story, hello.
Mhm.
Favorite characters, which my avatar is of.
Right.
Thank you, score. And sick plot twists, because there was one in that one towards the end.
Yeah.
Sold. So I'd have to say that out of all of my, which is, I mean, I played the first Final Fantasy, of course, but we also did D&D.
Mhm.
And as much as I like, the first Final Fantasy, there's not a lot to it other than I can tell you my beginning childhood memory of the first Final Fantasy was the Marsh Cave and never getting beyond that.
Yeah.
So, we didn't get very far in that when we were younger. It took me about 18 years to go back and finish that one up when I had the patience to actually grind and do what you're supposed to do.
Good.
Um, but Final Fantasy IV had the most lasting effect on me from that point on, and then everything
now,
else is sky's the limit on that one.
Final Fantasy IV was SNES, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, it was
Okay.
2 in the States, 4 in the SNES. So
Right, but
So
I'm saying like you went all the way through NES era. I know you were a Genesis kid as well,
yeah.
and it was the SNES that actually picked up finally a game
Yeah, that's why I always
that
wanted
touched
one,
you
and I
in a
never.
special place.
It did. I mean, I love Sonic the Hedgehog. Don't get me wrong. Sonic the Hedgehog will always have a special place in my heart because that was like we were cool. We were the cool kids. We got the Sega
Mhm.
Genesis. My
Mhm.
He's edgy.
grandmother, my
Blast processing,
grandmother.
sir. Blast
Yeah,
processing.
blast processing. My
Farty bass.
grandmother, more farty bass, please,
Mm.
had the Sega Genesis. She had Alter Beast, and she had like Arnold Palmer golf or something because my grandfather was an avid golfer, and I was playing it at my grandparents' house one day. I was like, this is kind of cool. So they got me the Genesis for Christmas. Um and as much as I love playing Sonic, and I remember sitting at my childhood friend's house with a tape recorder and a speaker next to the TV speaker recording the Sonic levels that we liked onto our tape, like on repeat, so we can
Mhm.
listen to it later. I mean, there's that, but honest to God, like even now, Final Fantasy IV holds the most like impressiveness to me, and I
Yeah.
still love that game. I mean, I'll go back and play Sonic. I'm cool with it, but it just holds the most weight out
Can
of
I
everything.
point out what a charmed life you lived? My grandmother didn't even have a microwave. She refused to have a microwave. She's like, I don't know what that's for.
Well, when you're born in the 1940s and technology doesn't exist, Sinistar, then that stuff kind of happens.
That's fair. That's
Microwaves are a hoax
They are a
perpetrated by the media. Sorry.
The liberal media
by
and their
big
microwaves,
by
their
big
newfangled
microwave.
gadgets, your
By
big,
Yeah.
big microwave.
big pharma microwave.
We're gonna lose
Ironically,
so many people.
Yeah, we probably are.
Either
Ironically,
that or
Jake's
we're
I should
gonna
have
gain
never
a
been
bunch.
here. Should have never been here.
Okay. Well, and I want to give. Okay, let me say this. I appreciate your appreciation for Final Fantasy IV, and for as similar personality-wise as you and I are, we'll always have that. And for anything we ever disagree on, be it Russell Wilson or various things,
I don't disagree. Listen, hold on. Before you continue that, I'm sorry, as I was the biggest and avid. I'm actually wearing a Russell Wilson shirt right now because I love this shirt, but unfortunately, he's still in the back of it.
Russell Wilson's a shark?
Yes, if he continues to fail, and not only do we get into the playoffs and get a high draft round pick for their trade, I hope that whole Broncos nation tanks. So go KC.
Yeah, absolutely. Chiefs,
KC.
Kingdom. Let's do it. Okay. But anyway, wanted to show love to you on that, and then give you the heads up. I have done a bit of extensive research, Chard, on you, your stream, and some of your history as well. So with that in mind, let's see, we got the intro. We did.
Are we about to dox Chard?
Okay. No, absolutely not. But I do have an address for him. I'm kidding. That said, you went on record on a stream of yours, January 19th, 2019, where you said Commodore 64 is where it's at, and compared to the Apple II, every other gaming system can eat a dong. Why would you say that, and do you stand by it?
That's a Commodore 64 Mini right there.
I don't know what Sinistar's doing. I think he smells burnt toast because he looks like he's having a stroke right now. Do we need to get out to Colorado and
right
save
there?
him?
Right there is a Commodore 64 Mini right there.
Mr. Monk, please
question.
Don't dodge the question.
I have a question. I'm redirecting. First of all, none of that is true. That is falsely been stated.
It might have been January 21st.
So you don't even have your dates right. How am I supposed to believe you? Wow, this is a facade, and I'm tired of it.
Good callback. For anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, check out 2 weeks ago our podcast here on Press B to Cancel.
It's the Visage or Visage episode.
Fig age.
Yes.
Nice. Okay, well let's get into the numbers then, since I've already been uncovered as a non-reliable narrator.
A false prophet.
I'm sorry, but the term is liar.
Wow.
Oh, okay. Okay. To each his own. That's fine. But okay. With all that out of the way, let's start talking about the games. We're 15 minutes in, and I want you to just give us your honest thoughts and opinions. I just don't want you to play to the crowd. Let us know what your heart feels, and this is a safe place. We're not here to judge. We are here to listen and ask questions. So, what is your 5th favorite game of all time? Courage.
You're giving me the news face. I love it. I'm gonna go with Final Fantasy IV. Is my 5th favorite game of all time.
Charge.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. Final Fantasy IV has a lot of lasting love to it. It's got some great characters. It was one of the first RPG stories that I fell in love with, that consequently made me fall in love with the rest of the Final Fantasy series. And made me the RPG streamer that I am today. So I'm going to give the 5 overall spots to Kane, Cecil, and Rosa, and Rydia.
Okay.
Whatever.
Points for pronunciation. You butchered Rydia, but Cecil, that's good. So wonderful.
You mean Cecil?
Short, sir. Cecil, you're
Cecil?
an aficionado. Don't sell yourself short. That's delicious. A solid pick for 5. That's good. Sinistar, what are your thoughts on Chard's 5th spot?
Well, I'm honestly worried about your mental health, GP, on this one, because if I remember right, this is your number 1 pick, and having it flip from a number 1 to a number 5, I worry about your mental health. I think yeah.
just because I'm into something doesn't mean that I expect everybody to be into it as well.
Is that true?
I won't go into the details there. But no, I'm just happy,
What does
knowing
GP
how.
always say? Is like, let me explain to you guys. We can have a debate, and I'll tell you why I'm right.
Yeah, yes. No, honestly, knowing how wonderful and well versed and experienced Chard is in RPGs, specifically Final Fantasy, for 4 to be on the list at all, I'm like, absolutely, I understand that. It's far from a perfect game, but it is the gift that keeps on giving. It's been ported however many times, and they've
See,
updated graphics and playability.
This is why it dropped so low, GP, because it took like 4 iterations to really get it done. And then they released the after years.
Okay, that's a step back, yeah.
And I wept openly.
Okay, so before I
They
click
took Kane's
send
helmet off.
on this message to 8-bit to do a wellness check on you, you're okay, GP?
Yeah,
The cops
doing
are
great.
hey, the cops are already on the way. I already called them.
All right.
Okay, well then we're gonna speed this up, everybody. Chart, I'm gonna go and guess your top 4, and I just need you to nod furiously, okay? No, I'm kidding. Okay, so Final Fantasy IV, for anybody who hasn't ever listened to the podcast, is a game that probably should have won the bracket challenge, but it wasn't even in the top 5 or top 3, I think, right?
It wasn't in top 3, but it probably made top 5.
Yeah, there we are. So no, that's fair and admirable. So let's move on to 4. What do you got for 4?
Final Fantasy 4?
No, for your top 4.
Oh, 4th overall.
You're familiar with the category.
It's in all
today,
5
right?
spots. This is going to be a real short episode.
Final Fantasy 4. Yeah.
So Final Fantasy 4 is probably going to be my 4th spot now, kid. It's a new one. We got a new incoming game that impressed me so much. It shot right up the line. Most of you know that I've talked about it verbatim. Actually been very good about not talking about it the last couple of episodes. But when I was first introduced to Press B to Cancel, I pretty much talked about it every freaking stream. You know why? Because it's spectacular. Elden freaking Ring. If you liked it, you should have put an Elden Ring on it today on Chardmonk's Top 5.
Oh, let me kick off the intro again. Hang on.
No, but for real, that game is incredible, and I don't care how much it's Dark Souls 4. I don't care. I don't care. It is perfect from start to finish. It's trolly, it's difficult, it's beautiful, it's whimsical, it's spectacular. And if they changed it to Dark Souls 4 and we're like, oops, put the wrong title on it, I'd still love it. It rose by any other name, right? It's a great game, and definitely deserves to be my top 5.
So
now, okay, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say my question. Now, I maybe we end up earlier in or lower in your list, or higher in your list, but
can I pass on a question?
Okay, yes. Actually, I'm gonna come back to it based on the rest of your list.
That's good, because I'm gonna pass it then too. Okay.
Because he just said his number 4 spot was a quote perfect game from start to finish. So our job now, Sinistar, is going to be pretty easy.
Well, I think it's this. No. I think it's Elden Ring 3, 2, 1 again now, right?
No, you're wrong.
Right. So
my third pick is Final Fantasy 4. Oh,
okay.
Sorry, jumped the gun on that.
Final Fantasy 4 DS, different beast altogether. It's great. It's perfect.
GBA.
Start to finish. It's
3 extra dungeons and 4 extra call monsters. Done and done.
All right.
Yeah. What are these augments? Yes, please.
Please.
Sign
me up.
For those that haven't,
go.
For those that haven't listened to our Elden Ring episode or haven't played it, or give us a little bit of a taste of Elden Ring, and then maybe talk a little bit. I know you said perfect front to back, but maybe talk a little bit about your love for it.
Let's qualify that. Let's unpack that.
Well, Elden Ring didn't require any kind of major hot fixes to make the game good. It was good right out the bat. When I fired it up,
Cyberpunk is right out.
Pretty much. Anything starting out from Red Project, unfortunately, from CD Red Project, don't dox me. I'm sorry. But hey, release something good at the start. Don't spend 6 months on it. And if it's not ready yet, just tell everybody to F off and don't release it, please. God, for God's sakes. I'm sorry. That stuff drives me crazy. We talked about it though. Why is it that the gamers have to come out and say, "Hey, this is all broken," when they're like, "We know."
Right. You don't.
We didn't think you noticed.
If we figured you would say something and we'd fix it. It's like if my wife comes and tells, if the dishes are in the sink and they're overflowing, and I look at it and go, huh, should probably do that, and then walk away, and then my wife comes to me 6 months later and goes, are you gonna freaking fix this or not?
The flies are hatching. We should resolve this.
Yeah. At that point, you have a toys in the attic from Cowboy Bebop sort of situation,
right?
And that's dangerous.
It's silly. So say
on the
beta that.
So
getting
not being
Elden Ring released,
not being a beta tester is a high value for you.
Well, if not on something I spent $60 for. Right. Like if you're gonna go in and be like, "Hey, test this game for me real quick, bro." Sure. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, it's good. Or the jump sucks. Or blah 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 blah. Or it's broken, like unplayably broken on my PS4. Why did you release it for this? You should have just lied and said, "You know what? It ain't going for. It's going to the new stuff." Sorry, guys. Then I would have been like, "Hey, that sucks," but at least I'm not disappointed and spent $60 on it. But we're not talking about that. Elden Ring came right out the gate. Came right out the gate hot. I read about it. I was hyped about it because I love FromSoft games. I'm a big FromSoft dude. There were 3 swamps. But the best part about swamps in Elden Ring was that I didn't feel like I was freaking forced and stuck there like I was in Dark Souls 3. I felt like I could wander through it and be like, well, this sucks. I'm out. And I'd leave. It wasn't like Dark Souls, like, well, I literally got to walk through all that. It's the whole the whole thing. So I like my Dark Souls to be open world, apparently, and explorative and adventurous with surprises around every turn. Though Dark Souls is just quoted to be very difficult and a big learning curve and all that stuff. Elden Ring was the same way. But it was beautiful. Like, I don't know a soul, even if you're not into Dark Souls games, I don't know a human being that walked out of that underground area when you first started and you take that lift up and you walk out and you see the Erd Tree and you see the Stormvale Castle and all that. So I'm shaking my desk because I'm so passionate about this. And you look out into the horizon and you see the lands between and you're like, excuse me, I am playing this now. And you would just walk around. Then you get slapped in the face by a sentry. But that, that's fine. And that I appreciated that they put a boss literally 5 steps out of the starting area. That's FromSoft. I love you for that shit. That's so trolly. But it's great. The story's great. It's not linear. I like my open world games, but sometimes, i.e. Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption 2, I have a very difficult time completing open world games because I get so lost in the world around me that I'm like, hey, let's go check out some other things and ride around and do some stuff. With Elden Ring, there is that, but there still feels like there's direction. Like, hey, there's a cave. Let's go into this cave. Oh, I fought a boss. Oh, cool. I got a new weapon power ability armor, something. You get something good out of it instead of, I saved this screaming chick running through the fields again. I'm going to go rob a train again. Wow. Like, I don't know. I just felt like there was a lot more risk reward in Elden Ring, and I appreciated that. And the boss fights were spectacular, absolutely fun to do.
Malenia,
but I beat her.
I know
that I beat her, and I beat her well. Listen, it's a challenge, and I sometimes like to have challenges. I like to be challenged. Sometimes I want to split my controller in half and throw it across the room. It happens. I am an emotional person, but Elden Ring did it in such a way that they were telling me how beautiful I was every time they'd punch me in the face. And I'd be like, you know what? This ain't so bad. At least I'm pretty.
Isn't that called an abusive relationship?
It is, but you know what? I got out of it.
Okay.
But I feel her calling me again. I feel her calling me again.
Also, the screaming chick running through the field has a name, okay? It's 2022, Chard.
Oh. I thought it was 2021, but all right.
That said, yeah, I don't think that Elden Ring being in the top 5 is going to be necessarily a hot take. I think that's a solid choice, and I think most of the world would agree with you. And I am happy that your top 5 is not necessarily all one genre or one era of gaming.
Nope.
A little bit of a hot take there would be, I guess a hot take about Cyberpunk between you and Matthew Perry. Keanu Reeves has had a rough week. We love you, Keanu.
We love you, Keanu.
Absolutely. Let's go back to quotes. This was from right after you'd gotten a raid in a stream a couple of weeks ago. You said character development from wire to wire is incredibly important to me. You said Zelda and anybody from Melee is horrible and did it wrong. Cool spot for the Super Nintendo, and Mario RPG is where it's at. End quote. So here's a question. You realize a lot of the characters from Mario RPG are in Melee.
Are you sure you weren't watching Jake's stream? Because that certainly sounds like something you might have mixed
No,
up.
his was Circus Charlie.
No, let me paraphrase every Sick Jake stream for the next couple of weeks. Have you guys played Marvel Snap?
Or Circus Charlie?
I'm never playing it. Everybody should play
every MP. That's literally every MP we've had since last Tuesday.
Or Circus Charlie.
My favorite is still it's a schizophrenic relationship because it's guys. You play Marvel Snap?
Don't
you guys
play
Marvel Snap?
Don't
you need to go
play
play Marvel Snap? Then you should play Marvel Snap. Next day, guys. Don't play Marvel Snap. Don't play it.
I know what I said.
It's got a paywall. Before. It's behind it. I know I was hyping it up. Don't play it. Don't waste your time. Next day.
It's bots until level 30, and I can't beat them.
I was wrong. There's not a paywall. It's all cosmetics. You should play Marvel Snap. Have you played Marvel Snap yet? You should play Marvel Snap. Not sponsored.
Love you, Jake. Love you, Jake.
This literally has been a roller coaster of emotions from start to finish on my Marco Polos. I'm at work and I've got fun. 40 Marco Polos of Jake literally doing 180 so bad I had to go see a chiropractor because my neck literally almost snapped off my neck. My neck almost snapped off my neck. That's how bad it was.
Hey
I'm
guys,
still scarred.
Hey guys, play Marvel Snap.
I haven't played Marvel Snap.
Play Marvel Snap.
No, I don't think I'm going to. But also in a more realistic sense, I will. Thank you, Jake, for the recommendation. Sorry, Sick Jake. God dang it. So to continue on before we move to your number 3 with that quote about character development, in your opinion, humble though infinitely correct it might be, what game or specifically what character has had the best, most satisfying character arc considering where the game ends compared to where it started?
Man. God.
There's no wrong answer.
Except there is.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
No, it's an opinion. God dang it, Sinistar.
Character arc.
Yeah.
I'm gonna toss up two names. Tails. Jake will strongly disagree with that. Tails had the strongest character arc in any any game. It's almost canon. How strong his character arc.
I've had a lot of water. We're good.
No, I'm gonna give you two. I'm gonna give you, and one will lead into my third. So that'll be cool.
Okay. I like this.
This is a weird selection, but Kefka's my first character arc impressiveness because he was a stupid, shitty little clown, and then he turned into the destroyer of worlds. So
he succeeded. Yeah,
he succeeded exactly.
Absolutely.
So, big fan of that character arc, and Isaac Clarke from Dead Space, which then leads me into my top 3 game, Dead Space. Not the remake, not one. I mean, I'm not sorry, not 2, not 3. Dead Space 1. Dead Space 1 has got to be one of the greatest horror survival games I have ever played in my life, and one of the few games that after I completed it, literally fired it back up and played it from start to finish again. I mean, like that same night. Obviously, I didn't finish that same night, but when I finished the game, I was like, well, we're going to do this round again, and I literally played it again.
I'm going to throw out strong choice. I purposefully, I know that there was a little question as to whether you'd posted your list previously or not. I purposefully did not look at it. And so I am surprised. I am honestly genuinely surprised at Dead Space making number 3 for you.
Dead Space had so much going on. I'm not great at following games, to be honest with you. There are more times than not someone's going to come to me and be like, hey, did you hear that the DLC for Resident Evil was coming out today? What? They made DLC of Resident Evil 8 today? They came out today? This was a true conversation, by the way. I knew it was coming, but I didn't pay enough attention to it, and I love Resident Evil 8, that I was like, oh, I need to be on this. Like, the day it comes out, I have to be on this. That was Dead Space. I saw an article in Game Informer, God, 2005, I think is when it was released, or around that time. Maybe it was a year earlier. And I read about this game from cover to cover about how they use no heads-up display, because that was kind of a new thing. I wouldn't say it was a new thing, but it was kind of a new thing. They were kind of pioneering the lack of heads-up display in the game, how your life was put on your character's body. The third-person view was to allow better immersion into the game instead of the clunky first-person view. Your ammunition was on your gun. And the only thing that really is terrible about Dead Space, which is very, very limited, is the item management thing. And that's pretty much with any freaking game these days, is item management. It's kind of a pain in the butt.
2008.
2008. Okay, so it was a little bit later on. I did read it a couple years before it was coming out. It was still in production. It was still like they did a whole like this game's going to come out in a couple years, and I rode the Dead Space wave all the way out. And this was before I was like an avid scary game streamer or scary game player, for that matter, because there wasn't a whole lot of streaming back in 2008, at least for me. But I love everything about it. I love the atmosphere. I love the music. I love the characters. I love that the protagonist was nonverbal. He didn't say anything except when he get punched by something, he'd grunt. I love the guy's armor. I thought the armor was the coolest goddamn thing. And apparently you can buy it if you pre-order the Dead Space remake. They actually have his helmet that you can get. And I'm this close to dropping $200 on this thing. I like that. Love Dead Space. I was so terrified about it, and somebody at my work brought it up today that they thought it was really cool that instead of being like a zombie game where you go for the head, it didn't matter. It did not matter, and you could body blast them, you could take their heads off, you could do whatever. They're still coming at you, and I loved that. I loved the response. I loved everything about that game, and it terrified me. It scared the hell out of me. If you could put me out in the middle of outer space and literally take nothing but the sound of my own breath away from me, and then you have things sneak up on top of me to attack me, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. The use of the soundscape, the use of the environment, the way that the game played exactly like Event Horizon, which is one of my all-time favorite horror films. It's great. So long live the Ishimura.
Like I said, strong choice. I firmly agree that that's a top 5 game.
Yeah, and see, I think more so than your other picks so far, this has really been the embodiment of what this category is about. Something that may not be on everybody's. An argument can be made for it if you feel you need to. But I want to touch on what you said about as soon as I beat it, I fired it back up and started again. That in itself could be an entire episode, because I think that's a very short list. I know for myself, there's maybe 2 or 3 games I've ever done that with.
Yeah, me too.
So even if you're not somebody who has ever played this game, you can identify to that concept and that feeling of, wow, what a rush, what a ride. I immediately need to do this.
Want to go it again. It's like being at a roller coaster park and you're on the ride and nobody's there. Like, the line's like empty. And the guy's like, you want to go again? Even though you're already sitting on it, you're like, yeah, put me on it again. And then they just shoot you again through. It's the exact same thing where it's like, this was so adrenaline rush. Like, I don't want to come down yet. I'm ready to go back in there and do it again. And I've had to have played Dead Space, God, hundreds of times up to this point.
And it's such a unique thing. I mean, there's a lot of unique aspects to it, but to be able to provide the experience of, you're talking about just floating in space and being out there surrounded by nothing, still somehow you feel claustrophobic. Yeah. And it's so bizarre, that kind of juxtaposition.
And so lonely out there. It's
the execution of
perfect.
But it raises that question, which, in that scenario, which is more scary? Being alone or not realizing that you're not alone.
Yeah, exactly. When you think you're alone and you get comfortable, that game puts you in a state of like, okay, I think I'm good. And you'll be walking down a corridor and then you get grabbed by the tentacle guy, and he starts dragging you, and it comes out of left field. And I'll tell you what, guys, I've played that game hundreds of times, and no matter how many times I do it, I still get jump scared by certain points of that game. I don't expect it, and I've watched my VODs of other people and myself playing it, and no matter what.
Are you there? Okay.
Yeah, you're still here. I still.
No, sorry. Everything cut out for me for a second.
Oh, you're
sorry.
No,
I'm that way with the Ring movie. I don't have jump scares, but every time they open that closet and that head falls forward, I know it's coming for an hour and a half. I'm like, I can't watch it this time. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
No,
What do you got?
You're fine. I mean, you just rightfully so. You point out that when you go out into space, like the only sound you have is your breathing in your suit, right? And
yeah,
which is refreshing because that's real, right?
Right. Exactly.
It's real. Like every other game, you're like out in space and you're like pew pew pew, right?
Yeah, you can't hear anything.
Yeah.
It's so great. And also you have limited air supply.
Yes.
So you're seeing this number over your back. And this is the ingenious thing about this, is that they put it in numbers, right? But they put it in freaking seconds. They put like milliseconds on there. So it's going faster than what it actually it's going. So you're like losing your mind because you're watching the seconds go by,
right?
And you're not paying attention to the minutes. So it's making you think about it more. You're like, oh, I gotta get an air tank, or I gotta find an airlock somewhere. And it's you could easily just stroll through it. It'd be fine, but it's so panic and anxiety inducing that you're like running to try and get through this. And then of course there's somebody out there, wants to stab you in the chest, but you can't hear it. But it's just chilling out there, spazzing out, freaking out like they do.
It's a complete sidestep to what you're saying, but it's along those lines with the timer. The other side of that, things that count down slow at the beginning, but eventually pick up. There's a horrible transition. Sorry. The movie Rocky, for anybody who's seen it, Stallone takes Adrian on a date to a skating rink that in the script was supposed to be full of people, but because of budgetary constraints, nobody was there. They couldn't afford to pay the extras. So it's just him and her, and they have to pay this guy like, $10 for 10 minutes on the rink. So like after a first minute, you hear him just yell out from the background, 9 minutes. And then they just keep talking, and then 7 minutes, and they get annoyed with it. But it picks up the pacing of the scene, and it's brilliant. So I think they use that, and they're like, no, fuck that. That's too much milliseconds on this piece.
Yeah,
they going.
Yeah, it's funny to see the numbers like ticking down, and you
Well,
got like 20 minutes, but it looks like you've got like 2.
You're already out of time. Yeah.
The other side of it is like, going back to my favorite game, Super Mario Brothers, when the clock gets toward us like 30 seconds or whatever, the music speeds up, right? In this game, if you're not paying attention to your suit, you have no awareness because there's no noise, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's except you hear and you see the numbers turn red, and you're like, oh, I'm hella suffocating out here. We gotta go.
It's Trent Reznor doing the drowning sound in Quake, right?
Yes, that's the one. That's the one.
God bless you, Trent Reznor.
Yeah.
God bless you, Trent Reznor.
If you want to come on the podcast, we'll have you anytime, Trent.
Yes, I have a million and one questions. Okay, sorry, again, tangent here, but if ever, Trent Reznor was going to consider it,
I would weep. I would openly weep.
100%.
This would be me the entire episode.
My wife would be popping up in the background all the time, being like, "Here's my phone number," and I'd be cool.
Mine
with it.
too. She'd be coming in through the what is it? The upper level of the water here. Like,
I mean, let's be real, guys. I'd be holding up my phone number and being like,
call
me.
Yeah. I would be like, I'm like, yes, that's my wife's number. But no, interesting little tidbit of trivia here. He did a music video that, of course, was never able to be shown on TV because of nudity. With Bob, I forget the guy's last name. Bob Flanagan.
Oh, Flanagan. Okay.
He was kind of a world famous stand-up comic / sadomasochist.
Yep.
He also had cystic fibrosis.
Yeah.
So Trent Reznor, if ever you were looking for somebody else to know, was CF Rest in Peace Bob. Boom. There you go. So interesting. That's my sales pitch to. He's never going to hear this. It's fine.
No, that's fine. You never know. These things get around and be like these 3 idiots were talking about you. On the podcast.
Adding hashtag
One of them
Trent
looked like
Reznor.
a shark. You should check this out.
I'm adding hashtag Trent Reznor to the episode title.
Please do.
And the reason for the shark suit is because every day is exactly the same. That said, I know now we're all thinking about the song. Okay. So
this is the only time I feel alive.
I love it. Okay. So yeah, I know how the podcast started. I don't remember how the podcast started, but I know exactly how it'll end.
Today on.
There we are. And then he can do a version of the opening song. It'd be great. Yeah. And we'll all be sad.
There is no me. There is only retro.
I love it. Guys, we need to do that episode. Okay. Chard, I'm referencing. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
No, I was going to say, if we do our celebrity episode this year and it's Trent Reznor, front and center. I'm hosting that all the way home.
Yes.
We might have to arm wrestle for that.
Sure. And we do need to try to swing for the fences for this year's celebrity episode. Last year's celebrity episode was me. And
well, you are kind of a big deal.
No, not at all. I remember you guys offered me money, and I'm like, that's way too much.
You are right here. Okay.
Didn't we already have our celebrity episode 2 weeks ago? It was Sinstress.
Yes. Well, I love that. That was a great episode, by the way.
Yeah, agreed.
True.
She was fantastic. She was so good, I worried for my job.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
Okay. So before we get to number 2, Chard, I'm quoting an interview that you gave in 1994, the August issue of Playboy, where you said Resident Evil didn't peak until 5. Can you speak to that? Do you still feel that way?
I was in middle school. I don't know how I got into Playboy, but that's pretty impressive.
You were very worldly.
That's very worldly. I'm very worldly. That's true. I get around.
It was the short-lived Boys of High School era of Playboy. Sorry, YouTube.
They had the Starbucks chicks. They might have the boys of middle school. I'll be honest with you. I haven't liked Resident Evil since the original 3. Then I fell off of it, and then 7 and 8 brought me back, and then the remake 2 brought me back, and I didn't get a chance to play remake 1 yet, and I hear remake 3 is kind of trash, so I was a little sad about that. But
okay, so walking back from the interview, and that's fine. We grow, our opinions change. That's fine. Let's look into what is your number 2 game on this top 5 list.
So here's the problem. Here's the toughest. This was the toughest split that I've had to make. And I'm both happy and disappointed that this is my number 2 pick out of all. There's a lot of things about this particular game. I know, but I have a lot of inner turmoil about these decisions. As much as I wish it could just share a place in the sun, Icarus flew by himself. So I'm going to have to go ahead and pick Chrono Trigger as my number 2 overall game, which was not an easy decision to make.
I had hoped that game would show up on the list, and I'm glad that it is that high. Real quick, just to clarify, when you say it was, so close, are you talking about between Dead Space and Chrono Trigger, or Chrono Trigger and whatever the number 1 part is?
Chrono Trigger and whatever number 1 was.
So would you say they're maybe interchangeable depending on your mood?
Could be. There is some definite definition between how I feel now and how I could feel next week. But to be honest with you, it's always just it's always been just one step behind. It's been 1 millisecond behind this game, my number 1 game, which we'll get into.
Wait, let's not do that yet. Okay, so let's talk about Chrono Trigger, sorry, the far superior.
We were talking about top 5, not bottom 5. Okay,
yeah, there we go. Can't wait for that episode. That's going to be awesome. Anyway, so tell us about
your entirety of the Tales series.
When did you pick it up? What was your first playthrough, and how have you evolved with that game over time?
Chrono Trigger was we got that the day it came out. We went and purchased it, and we were one of the lucky few that actually got our hands on it before it was sold out. Like release date. I can't honestly remember the release date exactly, but I remember popping in. I remember the clock coming down. I remember the amazing theme music kicks in, and you hear the and you see the plane, the jet, Epoch flying by, and they're doing the tech attacks. There's a lot of really cool sound effects to go with this game. And I loved it. I loved everything. I loved the taller sprites. I loved the sprite work in the game. I loved how everything looked like Dragon Ball Z because of the artist. I loved the story. I love time traveling stories and stuff like that for the most part. You got to do it right. But there was everything about being able to see this. I'm so weird about this, such a geek. So if you do something in the past and you go to the future and it's the same as it was when you fixed it in the past or whatever, I love that stuff. Like doing the side quest stuff in the game where like you go in the past to fix the forest and you go in the future to go pick up Robo, who's been there for thousands of years tilling the forest and stuff, and then you bring him back to life and he joins your team again. You go into the robots, you fight the robot things. This game had so much emotion attached to it. On top of that, watching Robo get his ass kicked by his brothers and sisters was probably one of the first like first or second times I've cried in a video game, and I still get depressed watching that scene because it's very difficult to watch, and it's a goddamn 16-bit side-scrolling straight RPG. Are you kidding me? It still elicits that kind of response out of me to this day at 40 freaking years old, as it did when I was whatever, how old I was, like 11 or 10 or 12 when this came out. I love all the characters. There's not a character in that game that I'm like, yo, fuck this guy. Not one of them. I love every single character in that game. I love to interchange them. I growing up and playing it more, like I appreciated more things about it that I didn't as a kid because I was very much focused on like how cool Magus was. And yes, that's how I'm going to pronounce it for the remainder of the stream. Go ahead and at me. I'm not calling him Magus. I don't care what you say. It's Magus because they're magicians, not magicians.
Or
Frog. It could be. Frog, one of the greatest characters of all time. I've been quoted on that many times in my stream saying that. Chrono, the silent protagonist from start to finish. I love it. I love the spoiler alert. I love that they kill the main character at some point in the game.
Yeah.
96, guys, get over it.
Telling it like it is.
Yeah, and I love that this was one of the first games that had multiple endings to it, and you can choose to defeat the boss like right out the gate if you wanted to. I've gotten every single ending. I've got the RA badge to prove it. I loved playing that game, even when we were RA badging it, and I had to play it like 3 times over again. Didn't care. I love playing Chrono Trigger. I think it is, and the music. This is the only reason that this game could ever get boosted over my top game is solely from the music itself. It has the greatest video game soundtrack next to the one that I will be talking about last, which I'm pretty sure everybody will be able to guess by this point. I listen to it at work religiously. I listen to different renditions, different variations, different composers, different DJs that spin different songs to this soundtrack. It is that freaking good, and I could get lost in it. And it's short for an RPG in the sense of things. For an RPG, it's a quick turnaround, and it doesn't drag. It doesn't drag on. It doesn't lull. There's no points in the game where you're like, oh god, I hate going to the end of time. Oh god, I hate going to the last stage. Everything about that game is fun and cool and exciting, and it's slick, and it's what the Sega Genesis should have been.
Ooh, nice. That's a mic drop moment. I want to agree with you, and I'll say something else that's kind of a, oh, I didn't know that about you, GP, sort of thing, and then I'll wipe it all away with my final sentence. There is a time where, for me, actually, Chrono Trigger would have surpassed or usurped Final Fantasy IV. Here's why. There are times when I would not start Final Fantasy IV because I didn't want to do the sealed cave. Like you talk about rough. A lull or a shitty part. Okay, that was it. Chrono Trigger really didn't have that. But there were enough times where I would decide not to start Chrono Trigger because I didn't have the emotional availability. Like, I have to be able to connect to that game. Otherwise, it's not doing it justice. Yep. You know, I have to try to do everything or get the ending that I set out to get. Otherwise, so I oftentimes think, oh, I want to play it, but I don't start because I can't give the game what it deserves, which is a wholly unique experience for me in that. And then I found out that you can just glitch past the sealed cave in Final Fantasy IV. I'm like, you're back in.
You're back in.
Yeah.
I feel like Chrono Trigger is one of the few games that even if you aren't in the mood to play it, playing 30 minutes of that game puts you in the mood to play it. Like it brings you along emotionally. For me, I can't say that for everybody, but I can definitely say I'll be like, all right, I think I'll play Chrono Trigger today. I feel like I want to, and I'll turn it on and I'll be like, yep, this is the greatest decision I've ever made in my life next to marrying my wife. That's definitely up there in the top 3 best things I've done in my life. That and get up every morning.
Yeah, well, and that's
definitely a bottom. That's a bottom 3, definitely.
Nice. But that's the other thing is with Chrono Trigger, if you start it saying maybe I can do it, maybe whatever, we'll play it casually. That's not how that game works, man.
It never turns
immediately. It becomes a priority, and other things can wait.
Yep.
I don't care if I have to put the dishes off for 6 months.
I had to badge it. I had to go and get the badge for it, so I can say I did it. Now it's like, because it's always been with like games like that specifically. God, I haven't done this yet. God, I haven't done that yet. I haven't seen that ending, or I haven't done this ending. We should go do that. But then when you play it, I don't want to stop at that ending. I want to keep going. So I always go to the whole end, and I do all the side quests, and I leave the Black Omen for last. I do all of that stuff, and I still do all the side missions, even though it's like, okay, to get this specific ending, you have to take the necklace from Shala, then you have to leave. You have to go before she opens the door. You can't get it any other time. And I'm always like, nah, brah, we're going after that mammoth machine. Let's go. We're riding this all the way out. I can't stop here. I can't. You're gonna blue ball me on this. I can't do it. I have to go. I have to keep going.
So, real quick, for those that, I mean, a lot of our podcast listeners will know what badging is. For those that don't, retroachievements.org. What to badge is to complete all of the achievements in hardcore mode, which means no save states.
You don't have to do it in hardcore mode, but I do it in hardcore mode because I am an idiot.
No.
Well, I think
I'm with you on
200. I think 200% is considered the badge.
Yeah, that's what they. They're interchangeable terms.
Yeah. So yeah, I had to finish it, and I had to prove that I finished it. Same with Battletoads. When I beat these games, I'm just like, I'm done with them. I don't ever want to go back to them again. But Chrono Trigger just keeps. It's not a toxic relationship. It's that warm, loving relationship where you're like, I'm having a bad day. I think we're gonna go save time, and you go do it. That's why I hate, and that's why I despise Chrono Cross, and we'll get into that when we do the bottom three.
It's such an interesting thing to kind of touch on what you're saying about the side quests. When you charge the Sunstone for the 50 million years or whatever, it's an interesting thing because yes, that's a cool idea, but to me, what's infinitely more interesting is the fact that a video game can illustrate how silly the concept and how uniquely to humanity the concept of time is. That a game can do that and be like, yeah, it means nothing. If you could step outside of that construct, you'd see this is all stupid.
I still like the concept that even the landmasses change. Like they put thought into it. It wasn't like you go, hundreds of years into the future and it looks exactly the same. It's just like greener, or it looks different, or there's balloons at the fair this time. There's actual like erosion. There's actual things that aren't there anymore or have come in or appeared. And I like that aspect of it, that it was never the same. It's roughly the same. Don't get me wrong. It's fairly accurate. But for the most part, it's still, it's a different time and a different concept. I think that was really neat.
Now, you were quoted in a top 5 interview for a YouTube podcast on October 28th, 2022, as referring to Chrono as the silent protagonist. As the silent protagonist, can they have a satisfying story arc? Or Absolutely. Are they destined to always be secondary to the secondary characters who actually have like dialogue
voices and stuff?
Progress.
Yeah. I'm going to go back to my number 3 pick and ask you, does a man who flew in to fix a spaceship, who gets sucked into literal hell and fight his way out of it and survive all alone, who doesn't say a word throughout the entire game, which is why I'm mad they gave him a voice the other two, did he not have a killer? Did Isaac Clarke not have an amazing story arc of simple engineer coming in to fix a ship to survive hell and get on that little skiff and get the hell out of there after all the shit he did on the planet? Guy didn't say 2 freaking words except for that's literally all Isaac says throughout the first Dead Space. So yes, I think where you're playing, here's the problem with that question, especially in an RPG like this. Isaac Clarke is the main character. You don't play anybody else. You play Isaac Clarke. That's you. From start to finish, that's you. That doesn't change. With Chrono Trigger, you're playing several different characters with several different motives, several different personalities and whatnot, and you do have the silent protagonist. The silent protagonist also gets eliminated, and they go and find him to bring him back to life. You can choose to do that or not. So, yes, Chrono could have a very redeeming story arc for the most part. He sacrificed himself to save his friends, but then they came back to save him and bring him back. Even the worst, like even who you thought was the guy that started all this shit, joined the team to go find him again. He's a douchebag the entire time, but he's still a cool character, right? Having Magus on your team was like one of the highlights for me as a kid. because it was one of the first times that a villain like joined your team. I thought that was really cool.
I think if you love that from Chrono Cross, you're also probably a big Dragon Ball Z fan.
I am. If you say Chrono Cross and Chrono Trigger one more time, this interview's over.
By the way, I want to talk about the silent protagonist because I have a point to make as well. So, South Park Stick of Truth. If it were the silent protagonist, he wouldn't have been nearly as funny a character, because they make fun of that over and over and over again. They actually continually wait for you to talk and eventually give up on waiting for you to talk. Yeah.
Or they cut you off when you're about to say something.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the trope. You got to make fun of the trope. There's a lot of RPGs where it's like, where the characters are one person, one sprite on the world map, and they're like, "Get inside me," and then all the characters like join, and then there's like running jokes in other RPGs.
Speaking of tops and bottoms,
get inside here. Wow.
Yeah. Speaking of tops and bottoms, get inside me.
I like that. I like that loop around.
I love it.
That's what we call bridging the gap.
Before we go to number one, because I know what number one is. So before we go to number one,
anybody who knows me knows what number one is.
I have about a 1 in 6 chance of guessing it correctly.
Okay. But before we go to number one, I'm going back to this question that I was going to ask earlier, and you said that you were going to opt out of this question but why Elden Ring over Sekiro?
It was a hard call. I think I'm going to be honest. Let's be honest with you. Elden Ring was newer, so it was fresher in my head. I've talked about Elden Ring a lot more, so I remember a lot of the stuff I did in Elden Ring, and I that's what she said. I like how big it is. I like how immersive it is. I like everything about it. Sekiro has just this je ne sais quoi. It could have easily been on my top 5. Easily could have slid in there. There were too many games in the 6-5 little pie chart I made when I was drawing this up, going, all right, I love this game, but I like this game more. What represents my RPG style? What represents me as a person? What 5 games makes Chardmonk who he is? And these were the 5 I came with. And Sekiro should have been up there. I think it's a disservice to not have Sekiro anywhere up there, because it's such a fantastic game, and it's such a brilliant release and change from the Dark Souls, and Bloodborne was so still Dark Souls-y, even though it was steampunk Cthulhu, H.P. Lovecraft, whole 9 yards. Like, the scenery changed, but it was the same mechanics, the same concept. Sekiro was beautiful. It was stealth. It was things that I like about those kinds of games, where there was more than one way to take an enemy out. You didn't have to if you had to brunt force it, then you brunt forced it. But if you can sneak up and take out one of their lives, and the mechanics and a lot of the boss fights were magnificent. But Elden Ring it's a bigger game. It's got a lot of story to it. It's rich with context. It's beautiful because it's new, so it's running on all the new equipment right now. It looks absolutely stunning, and it just stuck with me just a little bit more than Sekiro did. But I do love Sekiro. Don't get me wrong. I think Sekiro was in my top 5, and then Elden Ring was like, oh hey, never, get out of here.
All right.
It was the shark. It bit it and took it away.
So before we talk about your number one spot, I got a hold of Chard Mom, spoke to her, and asked her a few questions. This one stood out to me, and I want to follow up on this. She had said in the fall of 1993, and this is topical, you had asked for one of 3 Halloween costumes. Your number one pick that year, Golbez from Final Fantasy IV, which tracks from the list, Melina from Mortal Kombat 2, and she said, Mom, this is a quote of Chard's in 93, I swear to Christ, which I thought was a bit extreme, if you bring home a katana suit, I will straight up burn this piece down. So considering that nobody called anything a piece until 2006 or later, I find that interesting. What was your number one pick that you ended up going with your number 3 pick that she found and you were able to go with? Anyway, sorry, who were you at Halloween 93?
She brought Melina. She brought home Katana, and I burned that piece down. But it's fine. We tried to dye it, and it just wasn't. It was too dark. I couldn't do it.
They meant to sell the house anyway. It was fine.
Yeah. What is Ed Boon?
Toasty.
Toasty. Yeah. We all got there at the same time. That was brilliant. Okay, interesting. She said that you ended up going that year as Cano, which I think she meant to say Kano.
Yeah, no. I even had the Australian accent and everything.
No, he was a can of Campbell's soup. It was Cano.
Right.
Give me my laser eye, you cunt. It's fine.
Well,
it's
look at that. We don't
Australian.
have time for your number one. I'm kidding.
Sorry,
right,
you two.
So let's move on to your. Sorry, I got to recover from that. Your number one pick. What is your favorite game of all time, Chardmonk? The world wants to know.
This is the GOAT. This is the GOAT.
I know a lot of you out there. I see a lot of you in chat dropping that hate out there, and I don't appreciate it. We're talking again about my top 5, not the bottom 5. So if I see Final Fantasy VIII thrown out one more freaking time, we're done.
Here, let me hang on. Let me fix that. There you go.
There we are. Thank you,
Cross. I love you. The greatest game, in my personal opinion, and I'll tell you why I'm right, is Final Fantasy VI. Hands down, best game I've ever played in my entire life. Still holds true. It's only needed 2 iterations, but not a lot of change to it. I'm tired of I'm tired of pixel remasters. As much as I love the music, the only reason the pixel remasters are good is because the music's better. That's literally all they could have done. And if they had just re-released the game the way it was, and then put the pixel remaster music in, it would have been just as fine. I love everything about Final Fantasy VI. I love the emotion. I love the failings. I love the team dynamic. I love that there's not a sole protagonist of that game. You think it's Terra, and then it's not. It's Celeste, or as Cells, as Paul fucking hates to hear that. It's everybody. The game is about winning as a team, as a family, as a friendship. And it's about conquering evil together and not by yourself. And you are not Cecil. You are not a white knight that is now a Lunarian. Spoiler alert. It's everyone. You need everyone to go and do it. But this game also allowed you to get 4 characters and then go take on Kifka's Tower. You didn't want to. If you were like, you know what? Fuck friendship. Let's go. I'm going to get Moogle. I'm going to get Moog. I'm going to get Sabin, and I'm going to get Cyan, and we're going to go wreak havoc.
We're storming this. Yeah,
exactly. And I just love everything about it. I love every character. I love all of their theme songs. They're so perfect for each one of the characters, the design for each one of the characters. I have never, outside of Chrono Trigger's music, Final Fantasy VI is one of the other musics that has elicited an emotional response out of me just sitting in my goddamn car. There's nothing about this game that is bad. I can't think of it. When I sit back and I think, are mini games terrible? No. Is the Opera House overdone? No. Are there too many side quests to do? No. Are there too many characters to follow? No. Do all their stories coincide with everything going on and they're easy to retain and remember? Yes. Every single character has a memorable story, and you want to rock with all of them. You even want to go get freaking Umaro, who you can't even control. But guess what? I'm going to go get that big fucking frost ape, and we're going to go fucking wreak havoc all over the world of Ruin because I can, because they let me. The sprite work in that is top notch. I don't think there's a game out there that doesn't have better sprite work than Final Fantasy VI to this day. I love it. Yeah, I love it. And I love how gritty it is. I love how dark it is. It is the greatest video game villain, in my opinion, of all time, which leads me back to another question that was asked and who I thought had a cool character arc. Kefka. Kefka's fucking twisted, man. This man is a psychopath, and they didn't pump the brakes on him. They didn't say he's going to go poison the whole town of Doma. And then they go, nah, he's not that evil. He's not going to do it. Fuck that. He killed everyone. He killed everyone with
Elaine,
remorse.
Owen, all of them.
Everyone. Did he have any remorse? No.
None.
He laughed about it. Yep. I was so shook up when they did that stuff, because you don't see that kind of stuff in NES games. They're telling me Callisto Protocol is too violent. You got a psychopathic clown that literally blew up the world. and won. He won. He did exactly what he said he was going to do. But that's the best part of the game. It's not about winning. It's about what you do after that terrible tragedy has happened. Do you just fall? Do you jump off the mountain on the island after Sid passes away because you keep feeding him sick fish because you forgot to go pick up the fast fish, which are the healthy fish, and it also takes 20 goddamn minutes longer to bring him back to health than it is 3 minutes to kill his ass? No,
it's the effort. Yeah, labor of love.
don't. You don't throw yourself off the cliff. You fucking find a raft and you go out there to go find your goddamn friends. Queue up. In Search for Friends by Uematsu. If you're going out there, you see Saban holding up a town. He's holding up an entire roof. So you run in there to go save a child. Guess what? You got the best MMA fighter in the entire goddamn country running around with you now. Oh, wait, we need an airship. Let's go get Setzer, that drunk ass gambling a-hole. Oh, kidnapper too, by the way. But he's got a killer ship, until he gets split in half when the world destroys. But I mean, do you see where I'm going with this? Do you see how all these people have all these intertwined things and you are just invested? You are invested in everyone. You leave no man behind in Final Fantasy. At least I don't. I can't bear to think of finishing that game without going to Fine Realm and saving Strago from his thing and getting Cyan out of his nightmares and all of that stuff and listening to the Beastie Boys rendition of Ozer's Mansion, which is dope. When they have the music for that. So I love Mount Colts. I love everything about that game. I like all the side missions, the maps, the stupid Phoenix Cave puzzles. I loved it. I loved everything. And the Espers, you want to talk about coolest shit in the world? Espers are the coolest fucking shit in the world, bro. I'm telling you right fucking now. There's nothing cooler than fucking Bahamut coming down and toasting some assholes.
I have to point out that when you got all close up, it looks like you have a bonnet on instead of a shark head. It's great.
Which I'm here for. Here for the bonnet.
Oh yeah. I swear to you,
I like to fold my teeth back.
By my non-floral red-rimmed bonnet, I will end you.
It's spiny.
I remember when the DS remake of 4 came out, and they started referring to summons as Eidolons, which is a cool word, but I'm like, why did they not just use Espers, man? Espers is dope. Espers is iconic.
The DS4 came out after 9, I'm assuming. Yes, correct me if I'm wrong. And Eidolons were the name of the Espers in 9.
I know, but give me Espers.
I agree. I 100% agree. I thought Espers was way cooler than
Also,
Eidolons.
I mean, if you're a fan of steampunk, that aesthetic, that kind of idea, 6 absolutely knocked it out of the park with that. I mean, that was the whole vibe.
The mixture between magic and machinery was just
well, and it straddles that line. There's that famous, I think it's Arthur C. Clarke quote that is, what is it? Magic is just science that is
unknown or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing Arthur C. Clarke. Give me a break here, okay?
No, you're not wrong. I know that a lot of people think that they went a little too like left wing with the machines and the robots and all that other stuff. But it's all powered by magic. I mean, I thought it's the steampunk thing, right? And I like the steampunk kind of thing. So,
absolutely.
It keeps it within its own vein and its own like imagination. But I mean, aside from having the airships and literally every single game up to this point, what other machines did you have? You had the hovercraft in 1. You had the lunar whale. I mean, you had all that cool stuff from 4, and they just kind of brought it over with them because 5 didn't have a lot of the machinery types aspects. I think they had like War Mech was a secret boss, and they had a couple things, but it was always about the void and it was about magic, and it was more swords and magic and stuff like that. And then they went to 6, and it's like they took 4, and please don't take this the wrong way, but I feel like they kicked it up a notch with the machinery and the magic and the characters and all that stuff.
And I think one of my personally to go along with you, one of my favorite things about 6, even over 4, is, I mean, let's just compare and contrast their endings. 4 has some loss, the goodbye of Tella and Fusoya and the Lunarians and all this stuff. And Golbez and all these things, but ultimately your main character becomes king and queen, and there's a celebration of life and all these things for everybody who survived, and we've moved on.
Right.
6 ends, and it's still that wispy, windy noise, and they're all at the top of the hill saying, "I guess we got to go down this mountain now and go home."
Yeah, we got to rebuild.
And it's this interesting feeling of like, we did it, and then you're just immediately reminded that the world was still ruined. And
Right.
it's
But it's still that
the
hope.
ending.
Hope
The
keeps
ending,
things alive. We're still
yeah.
alive because we had hope.
But that, I think, is what makes it so effective. Is every single character's missing piece of their personality is hope. And I've said this before. Every time you meet a character, it's like a contest for them to one up how sad they are.
Yeah.
Against the rest of the thing.
You're
But
not
then
wrong.
when you look at how they react at the end, pull themselves up by their bootstraps, climb this mountain, kill this guy, and then let's get back to rebuilding.
Mhm.
That when the ending pays off the missing section of each character, and you didn't realize they all had that common thread, I've never felt anything like that, even in movies. So I'm with you with this one, but yeah, it's disgusting how good it is.
To hate a villain, I mean, you think Golbez is the enemy the entire time of 6 till you get to the Lunarians, and then you get Zero Mist and all that stuff. And that was a night. Sorry, 4. It's got that whole twist. I mean, that was an M. Night Shyamalan like Sixth Sense X twist for me, where it's like, wait, he was being mind controlled this whole time. Like this whole holy shit. But Kefka was right there, front and center. And when I was younger, I was kind of annoyed with that at first. But when it gets to him just being full on nihilist, full on hope will not keep anyone alive. I will swallow hope and destroy everything because I want to, because I can. Not because he was going to be emperor, not because he wanted the world. No, he wanted nothing. He just wanted to watch the world burn. That's all he wanted to do. You're wearing your Batman shirt. I had to do it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got to say a couple things here about why you're so right. And Sinister, I know you're chomping at the bit to say a few things.
No,
I'll say this. One of the great things about Kefka, in a similar way to the Joker, is he was an idea. He was a concept, because he didn't understand the point or the value of hopes and dreams. Like, he even says that, like, where's it all going? What's the point?
Exactly.
Let's just end it now. At least I can control that. And it still to this day was again well executed, but it's so scary. Also, if anybody wants to learn how to do a good Michael Caine impression, all you have to do is say My Cocaine, and that's how he says his name. It's Michael Caine.
It's Michael Caine.
Michael Caine. Yeah.
Some people just want to watch the world.
It's so good. Nobody's ever going to do that as good. Except for Michael Caine.
We found children playing with those gems.
Michael Caine might be our new celebrity.
Okay.
All right.
And if he comes on, I insist that he sings Closer by Nine Inch Nails.
I thought he was going to do Hurt.
Hurt. He originally.
Did Nine Inch Nails do Hurt? Now, before anybody comes after me, yes, I understand they did that song.
We have a running joke. We have a very running long joke. We understand that.
I realized the minute that left my lips, the world was going to come for me, and I had to explain.
Well, there goes our Trent Reznor interview.
No.
What if we have Michael Caine interview Trent Reznor on our podcast?
That means somebody dresses up as Trent Reznor. He dresses up as Michael Caine. Well, Mr. Reznor,
Mr. Reznor,
how did you feel about writing this song called Hurt? Were you in pain the whole time, or were you just trying to get some words out for the world to hear? Please let us know what is on your mind.
Can you describe which day today was that you hurt yourself, to see if you still felt?
Did
you literally wear a crown of shit on your head for the fucking song? That is dedication.
And can you tell me about how you go about making a lawyer's chair?
Can I buy one at my local store?
Is that what they sell outside of the Cracker Barrel? I don't do accents. I don't do voices. Okay.
Shit.
That's our next TikTok right there.
The only thing I was really chomping to say was Chard stream before this podcast. I mentioned that we were going to have a good number of Chard rants, and I haven't been disappointed.
No. It's good, and they're not angry. They're more passionate.
No,
they're more passionate. I love all these games, and it's difficult to choose 5. Like, that's the hardest thing about this whole thing was picking 5, because there's so many. And at first I was like, God, I like 2 games. And as I thought about it, I went, No, you don't. You like 100 freaking games. Now you got to narrow that down to 5. And I sat at work, on lunch, going, Sekiro. I love Sekiro. Oh, but I like Elden Ring more. And then Jake, you're going to pick Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2,
Marvel
3,
Snap,
Dark Souls 4, whatever. Battletoads.
Marvel Snap,
of course.
Do you even know who I am? He didn't get a single one right. He just swung and missed the whole time. And then later was like, you guys play Marvel Snap yet? You play some Marvel Snap? We got to play some Marvel Snap. Don't play Marvel Snap. Don't play it. Don't play it. And it's behind a paywall. Don't play it.
You mentioned that, picking your top 5 is hard, and we haven't done my top 5 yet, but I just want to say I don't like any games. So my top 5 is nothing.
It's nothing.
I have a whole other set of
Marvel
Snap that I've done. And then
Circus Charlie is my entire bottom 5.
I'm really glad that Sick Jake is now Michael Caine.
I remember Circus Charlie was originally going to be called Carnival Charles. I see again, I can't do it. But to address Sinstress, no.
No.
That's all I got. That's the closest to redemption I'm gonna get. Chard, I gotta tell you, man, this is a great interview. I appreciate you rolling with the punches and my made up research. I fired my research department. Say what?
Good. Yeah, those were all totally made up. None of those were real.
Especially about
the other quote I got from your mother was that Sonya Blade was your second favorite sexy character next to, and this is a very odd and specific thing, the yellow Yoshi from Super Mario World.
That shit's hot.
And
I'm sorry.
That might be a therapy question instead of a press beef question. So
that's not what your mother said last night, Trebek.
Everything was a lie. Everything was a lie except for him going as Kano around the neighborhood, and instead of saying trick or treat, he was just yelling the C word at everyone.
I was getting into as Canadian, as Australian as I can.
One of the most shocking moments in Presby history.
Sorry.
No, don't be. I loved it.
Yeah, it was great.
I haven't even had any water, so
you're underwater, my friend.
Lots and lots of water.
I live in water.
There you go.
I'm always moist.
You and me both, brother. Okay.
Well played.
Well, let's wind this down. If you agree with Chard or don't agree with him, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button and put something in the comments. Let us know what you imagined his top 5 would have been, not you, Sick Jake, and we'll talk about it. Or, find our Discord. Go to pressbtocancel.com and find our Discord. Join us at Discord, and follow us there. Let's talk about it.
Find us at
Some
Discord.
people just want to watch the Discord burn.
If I had known this is how the episode would have ended, I would have had you guys do the opener as Michael Caine. So maybe we'll do that for Chard's bottom 5.
Today
I just want to watch these games burn.
Today on
Michael Caine. All right.
Today
fellas,
on my lawyer's chair.
Sinister, if you got something to promote or if you got something going on, tell everybody about it. Tell them where they can find you.
I'm dealing with enough IRL stuff. Work's busy, life's busy. I haven't been streaming, so find me here. Or I do comment on the Twitters. Although we'll see, since Elon Musk now owns it.
Yeah, that might be changing. And I'm gonna let Chard go out with him at the end. So I'll go ahead and say, everybody, thanks for listening. My name's Guy Prime. You can find me along with Sinistar here on Press B to Cancel. And I really do hope that you start playing along on Discord, because we really do have a lot of lively chats there. And love everybody. Thank you for showing up, and thank you for everybody who's here in chat. It's been great to see each and every one of you. All right, Chard, tell them all about it, and then we'll sign off.
Well, you can go ahead and find me in places like Twitch at www.twitchtv.chardmonk.
Why did you say that name?
Martha. You can also find me here, obviously, at Press B to Cancel with these wonderful people here. And I'm all over social media And I'm also in the Discord. I'm so freaking busy at work that I don't always have time to chat on the Discord, so I apologize for that. That's completely on me. You can also see me swimming around the sea with all these other sharks. Happy Halloween, everybody. This is the reason why I'm wearing this today. It came in today. My wife and I are going out tomorrow night dressed as idiots. We're dressed as idiots and enjoy Halloween tomorrow because I have to work on Halloween. So you will find me at my job dressed as a shark on Monday. Should be a good time.
I love it. And quick little bit of trivia. I want to give everybody trivia as we, throw this out here. These headphones actually ran out of juice about 28 minutes ago. So I'll go back and watch this. I'm sure it was great. I'm sure it was wonderful. And it's very easy to lip read Final Fantasy VI. So
fantastic.
Thank you for that.
Especially
when we're so good.
Especially when we're doing Michael Caine.
He's not deaf, you idiot.
Minister, your whole face changes when you do Michael Caine. I can very, very easily identify that.
Perfect.
All right, guys. Chard, tell everybody bye. I guess you already told them where you are, so I ruined the whole Chard leading us out. Sorry.
Some people just want to watch the top 5 band.